Hi friends, my name is Borrodante. Let's test Paintstorm Studio. This. So as you can see, I already spent some time with it. I installed it and I wanted to start the episode right away, but then I just got mesmerized by it for like 2 or 3 hours, I don't know. Cause the thing seems to be pretty cool. Let's start with the interface. Surely it didn't look like this when I opened the program for the first time. Let's see if I can reverse it. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I think this is what it looks like initially. I just wanted to show you because I removed a lot of things, like these kind of promising, interesting color selectors, and this mixer window is really cool to blend colors in. Legit stuff. Corel Painter has this kind of window too. So as you can see, you can change quite a lot of things. You can even change certain colors of very specific things. There's even a tool for that. Check this out. So there's a tool that looks like this, and when you select it, it tells you that it's not for drawing, it's for coloring the interface. So we choose the color and we just click at whatever, literally whatever we want to paint. And it will change the color. Well, with certain limitations, but still. Pretty cool. I don't know what for, this looks like a mess if you will really spend time too much with it, but maybe if you want to highlight some specific things that you really find necessary or whatever. And just for lulz, I guess, it's kinda cool. Never seen anything like this. Okay, let's now bring back things to sanity. So there's that. I pretty much brought the interface as close as possible to what I have in Photoshop, because that's like a product of a few years of thinking on how to make it work the best for me. So pretty much the same thing we have right now here. All the brush settings and selection of brushes is here, and color and layers are here. Layers can be shorter. And the main tactics with using this is of course pressing tab, removing everything, paint whatever we want, and then quickly tab again, choose the color, and going that way in a very clean fashion. Now for a few little things that I find annoying with the interface, annoying or missing or whatever. So number one is the tab thing. I have quite a specific approach about using interface in painting programs. So the point is that 2 of the side buttons on my pen are used for color picking, is the bottom side button, and for removing interface, which is tab button right there on the top one. Now in Paintstorm, you for some reason can't use the side button as tab key. Even if you actually set it up in the Wacom driver settings for Paintstorm, it kind of recognizes it as tab button. When you change the hotkeys and everything, it will show that this is the tab key that you're pressing right now. So it knows that it is. And it definitely means that the driver works properly for this particular program. But for some reason, it won't allow you to actually tab the interface away like this. It just won't do anything. There's some kind of blocking going on when tab is being applied with a click. Kind of annoying, but there's that. A little thing. Maybe there's more buttons that you can connect to the pen. I don't know. But there's that. What other things that are limiting for me? No touch support at all. So right now I can only paint with one finger and that's about it. And one more thing is that we can't really create a solid aisle of these panels. They always just stick together like this, but they don't dock together. They can only dock together if they're actually put to the side like this. Then they will kind of actually dock. But when they're floating, which is the way I usually use all the panels, they can't create one solid piece that I would be able to just move around with one movement. So that's a bit of a rough edge of the interface, I guess. Also, it's a bit unpleasant that I can't change only the length of the panel, but only both at the same time. In a sense that I can't make the layers panel longer right now without screwing up the width right here and wasting a lot of time to align it perfectly. Little things. And maybe one last little thing, let's quickly just be done with this. For instance, we want to change the size of the image. When I'm changing the size, I expect to click on one field, type in the size, and then I want to be able to press Tab and move to the second field, because Tab would switch between fields in the window in their order. But it's not gonna happen here. So it's a bit annoying that I have to switch between keyboard and mouse all the time. Obviously, these are very small things, but I'm just kind of impressed with the program, and I may be seeing it as something that I would actually use. So if there's any chance that the developers see this video, they may want to change these little things. Yeah, moving on. The point is that I think this program is an early stage of development, or this very new version of it is rather different from what it used to be before. So I guess a lot of things will be changed soon enough anyway. Like, one more thing, I don't know, it's almost not an issue at all, but there's actually no real full screen here. Like, this is the best you can get. Almost not an issue, but many people prefer removing the taskbar at the bottom, and that thing, if it would go away, that would be pretty cool. But I think this is really close to perfect here. So there's that. Now, moving on from interface, let's go around some cool features and color selection and working with layers, that kind of stuff. So color palette, I think, meaning this main one, there's those other ones, but I think those are like collections of swatches or something. Color swatches. Yeah, these are just swatches. They're just fancy looking. But this thing is really cool. I like how it's saving space with overlapping everything in its own area. You can switch to a triangle, which is basically HSL space, I guess. Lightness. A few color spaces for this thing, RGB, HSV, so everything is in moderation. Also, an interesting little thing right here, you can kind of like drag away the limitations of your rectangle, and you see there's no white there right now. We're kind of like working with a smaller area of the rectangle. Interesting. Sometimes it's a thing, many artists use it. You can kind of like crop away the amount of colors that you work with, so you would be able to follow one solid gamma on the whole painting. Now for the layers. I'm really happy with the layers, they're really close to what Photoshop has, but kind of like in a lighter way, I guess. Nice work with hotkeys on here, creating layer, merging, duplicating. And what I'm particularly happy about is pretty good clip masking. You can bind it to a hotkey, but I'm not very used to that. Anyway, there's a button for that, and you see a pretty legit clean way to clip mask. So that's cool, except for one essential feature, which is groups. They're not exactly very robust in the way you can approach them. For instance, here I am created the group, and now I can't just drag and drop one layer into that. I have to use this somehow. I'm not even sure, it doesn't really work anymore. Now it's there. It's kind of weird, you have to just sometimes hit and miss. And right now I don't know how to leave the group. Only upwards. When there's nothing there, I guess it will be able to leave the group that way. Something is very raw there so far. I guess it will be a lot better executed soon enough. Hopefully. I don't know. But I guess again, it feels kind of like a little thing because from my point of view, from a point of view of like someone who likes working with one layer and all that, layers themselves don't really matter all that much. But it's good that they don't lag, they don't crash or anything like that. So, good enough. Basically even better than good enough. They're pretty much perfect and have everything you want to have, except for a little bit of a raw performance of groups, I guess. Groups and the way you move layers around. You literally can't drag and drop layers in this stack. I guess that's the main reason why groups don't work that well, because you just have to use this thing always. Maybe there's a hotkey for that, but who needs a hotkey for moving layers around? From my point of view. Okay, moving on to some cool modes. The kind of stuff everyone wants to see in Photoshop, but they never will. Number one is mirror, symmetry. Pretty well done, I think. pretty easy to manipulate and move around and set things up. More sides of the mirror, and also more duplications from center. So you can come up with pretty complex and awesome snowflakes. Next thing is perspective tool. Now this thing feels like it's also in early development stage. It's not glitchy, it's easy to use, but it almost doesn't do anything if I have the right idea of what I see. Maybe I'm missing something, maybe some kind of features are only in hotkeys, but for now what I can see is that you can create and use it only as a guide, really. Also, it's really hard to grab these things when you work in higher resolution. So basically, you move it around, you have a pretty cool floor to get you started. I think that's a pretty cool thing. There is an actual ruler though. Here it is. Ruler, you rotate it, and it just restricts all your lines in one direction. There is ellipse mode that I've just noticed. This one allows you to follow the ellipse shapes wherever you want. So this is changing the angle of the circle in 3D space, and this one is the radius, and that's pretty cool. What else? 2-point perspective. Oh, there we go. There we go. Scratch the whole thing about no guidance of the perspective. What's up with this thing then? It's literally just for visuals. I guess you kinda need it sometimes to just have a light, quick guidance of the perspective. Even I had a tutorial about using grids for that kind of stuff, so yeah, that's a thing. Okay, so, So, horizon. These things are kind of weird. What exactly are they doing? I guess these lines, they don't really change anything when you move them around like this. These are just your guides. Anyway, yeah, you're just creating a base for some kind of box in 3D space. And what really matters for actual perspective here is where the horizon is and where the 2 points are. It's a good thing. Oh, there we go. This is where these dots come into play. But it's a good thing that you can't really tilt the horizon. Although maybe this thing does that. No, what does this do? Oh, just a vertical line. Again, these are just for you to see better. You can choose where your guidelines will be specifically. They don't usually do that in perspective guidelines. That's kind of cool. Usually you just have a massive grid. Well, yeah, this thing works pretty well. Now for the 3-point perspective. Oh, good. It actually doesn't change what we defined in 2-point perspective, and now just adds the third line, the third vanishing point. And we make it like this. Yeah, this thing. So, this is obviously a trial. Sorry, but your trial execution time has expired. Please save your project and restart. So, I think I have like 30 times to start the program. That's the kind of limitation this program has here, this trial. So now it doesn't force me to close, but it's gonna be annoying every few steps. So I'm gonna restart soon, but right now let's just see the 3-point perspective real quick. Blending is everywhere. Okay, so this looks pretty cool. I really like the perspective guidance, it's really cool. So you can change the opacity so it doesn't look that aggressive on the screen, or the opposite, 100%. One thing I have to say, this program is just filled with good decisions on many things. It doesn't have a whole bunch of all kinds of features forever. The kind of things that Krita does. It has everything in it. This one almost feels like it was made exactly for me a little bit. I don't know why, but it's so... just everything is so just well done, and the interface looks just pretty enough for me to not have any problem with that. And it's minimalistic enough, and it's customizable enough. It's just right on that kind of stuff. Okay, I'll restart real quick. And now let's see what we have in some basic tools right here. Well, lasso and all, I think selection and stuff like that works pretty well. Well, yeah, selecting, moving around is pretty clean and good. It would be good if you have a selection on, then the hotkey of cloning the layer would clone just the selection. right now it still clones the whole layer. Little things. Also, the original hotkey for moving the layer around, it didn't take place. Like, I'm right now using it the way Photoshop does. I just hold Control key and I can move the whole layer around. Even though I have, like, for instance, actual brush on, I hit Control and I can move things around and then just paint right away. So that's a really cool thing. Just Control and click and drag, you move around whenever you want. Now that's a hotkey that I found in the list of hotkeys in Paintstorm Studio, but initially Control was set for something else, and it didn't appear to do anything. I don't remember now what it was, but there was something else. Anyway, but just keep in mind, if you will be uncomfortable with the fact that you can't move the layer around, you can set that up in the hotkeys. And it's really cool that it does that, because there's quite a few programs that don't have a quick, easy way to just quickly move the layer around on the canvas. So this is really liberating in a way. Now, I wanted to try to use the bucket tool, which is usually a little something interesting to test in programs. Okay, there's a whole bunch of line brushes. Oh, they're not just line brushes, they're for actual clean line work. So they have some kind of post-processing, smoothing of pressure and everything. So manga stuff can survive here in a way. Yeah, there's stabilizations and all, but we'll go through the brushes later. So let's have, I don't know, this is a dude with a big nose from a side. Now let's choose that bucket tool. And in here we have closed gaps at 0, tolerance 30, gaps effect 300, and this, ink. So, okay, this is the basic setting, right? We fill in, we have certain artifacts where the transparency kicks in. It can do better, right? Okay, we may want to go in the layer underneath, right? Use it. So this check mark, I think this means it's a reference layer. So I'm gonna press using reference layer. Yep, now we fill in the empty layer underneath using the guidance of the layer on top. So now we have a very clean, non-destructive way of filling in. Closing gaps. Let's see, this is filling in the whole face, but I wanted to somehow find this gap and close just this area. So closing gaps a lot. Oh, ink is probably increased. Yeah, this is a good thing. It's like filling in, but also then extruding, like making the radius a bit bigger for everything. But let's see what kind of gap we have to deal with in order to make the thing work. Maybe like this. Well, yeah, this works. Yeah, I guess that's pretty cool. That's a pretty big gap if you ask me, alright? For a clean artwork. Brush, eraser, bucket. Eraser doesn't seem to have any stupid decisions on it, so it's basically just you can select any kind of brush that will be just erasing. Can't go better than that, I guess. I believe there's also an erasing mode for the main brush, so that's also a thing. Well, right here. Eraser mode, you just select it and your actual brush will be erasing. So bucket, there's gradient. Gradient is pretty close to what Photoshop has, I guess. Yeah, the same thing. So yeah, that's about it for the tools. I like how there's not a lot of them, because when you have a lot of tools in the toolbar, that's kind of a mess. You probably didn't do it very well. Usually when you have too much tools in the toolbox, that's not a very good sign. So there's that. Right now we pretty much went through everything in the program except for the brushes and actual painting. I'm pretty sure we're out of time now, so we'll start the second episode for that. So you wait for that in a few days. So far, tell me what you think in the comments. Tell me if I missed something or didn't get it right. But there is a few more features that I want to show you guys in the next episode, and maybe actually try and paint something. So this is it for now. And I thank you for watching if you did. I guess you did if you're here. Leave a like and subscribe. Tell a friend. Close the gap. Do whatever you want. And I will see you in the next one. Bye. And And I thank you for watching if you did. I guess you did if you're here. Blah. If this is the first video you've seen on this channel, this is not the way I paint, I promise.